Good evening. I'm Bryce McLeay, and welcome to Outside the House, the unofficial Big Brother After Show. This is a very special bonus episode, and we are certainly seeing stars with our guests tonight. So, after the confetti has settled on the second round of Big Brother All-Stars, what's been the fallout from last night's season finale? We'll find out soon enough. But first, for one final time, let's eavesdrop on the Outside the House team. Starting with, of course, is Rachel Swindler. Rachel,
Hello.
It's so nice to see you. I don't normally get to see you.
It's been so long.
I know. I don't normally get to see you like the day after. So this is a really nice treat.
I mean, I know. I'm so excited right now. I can hardly contain my excitement.
Well, let's keep going. Say hello to Mark Herman.
Hello. I shouldn't be up here. There we go.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Mark, so excited to see you both.
You were so excited. We're so excited to have you, Mark, and especially in your hotel room again. It's really nice.
I am, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. So
okay,
yeah.
great.
But I'm
Do not talk about
production for BB23.
All right.
Fingers crossed I get on.
You're in sequester for like 5 months.
Yeah, till the summer of 2021. Like the
Also
rest of
it. I'm not hanging out with anyone, so also known as me in high school. So I'm
or just the rest of the world in a pandemic. But anyway, before we get started, even though we're at the end of our season, I would still like to encourage everyone watching to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more subscribers, the better chance we have to make a bigger and better show when we return for BB23, hopefully next summer. We're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so if you'd rather listen than watch, just open Spotify or Apple Podcasts and search Outside the House. Then click the subscribe button, and please rate and review us. Finally, follow us on socials at From Outside the House on Instagram and at Outside BB House on Twitter. All right, we are absolutely honored to have this special person on our show tonight. You know her as America's favorite house guest from BB21, who came back as an all-star in BB22. Outside the House, she is the co-host of the Hello Friends podcast. Please give it up for Nicole Anthony.
Yay.
Hello.
Woo! Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys. How are you?
Well, we're doing great. Nicole, I really just want to start because we saw you on the broadcast last night along with the other pre-jury members, but we didn't hear you. What is up with that? What's up with that?
We're not allowed to talk about production, but what I will say is it's a live broadcast, and they have time slots and time allotted, and when certain things run over, they got to make things fit. So.
Well,
yeah.
I think Rachel, I think you were asking me a question about Nicole.
Oh, wait. So no, I was just curious. I'm like, ever since last night happened, have you talked to anybody from the cast? Have you been able to catch up with Kevin? Have you been able to talk to David? Have you been able to talk to anybody since last night?
So I am such a firm believer in giving people space, because I'm the type of person, like, when I get off the show, like, I'm very overwhelmed and overstimulated, especially this season. Like, I didn't want to not bother with anybody, but just kind of like take my time. So I'm like, I don't want to reach out and bombard people with the generic, like, you did so good. Are you okay? Is everything okay? How you feel? So I was talking to who I thought was Kevin's husband, and I was DMing him. I was like, listen, tell Kevin I love him, but I want to give him his space. And when he's ready, I'm here to talk. I'm here to listen, whatever he needs. And he wrote back and was like, this is Kevin. So I was like, oh my gosh, Kevin, I love you. How are you? So I was like flipping out a little bit. So I'm looking forward. He said he's going to call me. So I'm looking forward to catching up with him. And otherwise, any and everybody I want to reach out to, but I do want to give them some time because I know how weird, especially the days after finale, are.
Well, Kevin did say, I saw Kevin go live just before we came on with you, and he said he loves you. He's just like, I love her. He actually said a better word that I can't remember what it was, but it was like a word that was like, I love her redonkulously. It wasn't that, but it was something to that effect. So you're clearly still you're very favored in this house and in the fan base. But I wanted to know, you were obviously watching the finale in real time last night. So what did you think about the one and only blind side of the season, which was Cody clipping Franzel at Final 3?
Oh man, so I was watching it in real time. I was actually watching it early because the pre-jurors that were on there, we had like a 5-minute delay. So we would see things, but then I couldn't tweet about them because they weren't happening on the broadcast yet. So with the blind side, from a game perspective, I have to give Cody major props because that ability to separate game from personal and be like, this is how I'm going to win. I have to cut her. Like, I give you major kudos. However, Nicole, the empathetic being that I am, I did feel really bad for Nicole as a human being because that does hurt, especially if you're expecting something and it doesn't happen. I know it's a game, but that is a blow to come to terms with. So I was very emotional for her. I was also excited to see that he picked Enzo, so maybe Enzo could maybe pull out the win. But I kind of, on a game level, I was like, yep, that's what he had to do. But on a personal level, like I did feel bad for her, but that's just me. I feel bad for everybody.
Well, did you really? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Rachel. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious, Nicole, if you had been in the jury, who would have gotten your vote between Cody and Enzo?
See, I'm so bad because sitting there, I was with Eric. He was not with me, but he was like off camera. And I was sitting there, and I was like, just him and his family and his kids, I would vote for him. Like, I love Enzo. But I do respect the game so much, and I do think for me those final two speeches would solidify it for me. And Cody had his bullet points. He hit all of them. He sold his own game, whereas Enzo, being Enzo, kind of talked in circles and self-depreciated and gave Cody more credit than he gave himself. And that, to me, no offense, wasn't a winner's speech, so I probably would have voted for Cody. As much as my heart is like, no, vote for Enzo, I probably would have voted for Cody.
Yeah, he was very much like, yo, I mean, Cody's great and everything. He won a lot of comps, and he's this, and he's that, and he's great. And
but it is what it is.
But it is what it is, but I guess I'm good too. And I was like, no, Enzo, baby. No. And I felt bad for him.
Yeah, me as well. And what didn't help was Nicole F being so frustrated with Cody. She thought, I'm frustrated, let me ask Cody a question. She shouldn't have done that. If you're frustrated with Cody, ask Enzo a question that could help Enzo's game. Instead, she gave Cody the opportunity to give the entire jury the reason why he got rid of Nicole, and that would have been her one chance to be like, Enzo, talk about loyalty or talk about, and that could have maybe helped Enzo's case, but I think instead Nicole ended up helping Cody.
That's really good insight. That's a really good point. Well, you were in Nicole Franzel's position last year when you played third. And I gotta say, like you said, you felt bad for her. And I think it was, for me, it was like, I'm not upset that she was clipped at the final three, but I do think it would be hard to have that, to process all of that on live TV. Did that bring back like any memories for you? Was it hard for you last year?
I think me and Nicole were in a different situation in the sense that last season I saw it coming. When I didn't win the second part of the HOH, I knew most likely Mickey was going to take Holly was going to take Mickey. And you had that slight glimmer of hope, but I kind of made peace with my God that I was going to be the last juror. So I was calmer when I walked out. And I'm not the type of person to really get butthurt because I didn't have a personal outside the game relationship with either of them. I think Nicole really did expect Cody to bring her. She has a bond with Cody out in the real world throughout the game. So I think for her, she had more of that shock to process on stage. And I know a lot of people are giving her flack for being, sulky or crying. But you have to understand, that's a lot to process. That here I am. I thought I was going to be a repeat winner. Now I'm going out third. What just happened? Why this happened? Why did I get that question wrong? That's a lot to work through while Julie's asking you questions, while you have to go vote for a winner. I give her a lot of credit for holding it together. I think she held it together pretty well. I probably would have had a breakdown.
Yeah, I agree. And what's crazy is what you said, Nicole. I was blindsided by
me too.
Because Cody was so tight-lipped throughout the entire, when the live feeds and in the diary room, there was no hint or inkling, I feel like, or that I saw. I don't know if you saw anything on the live feeds or anything like that, but I never saw anything that was, I got to clip Nicole. I never saw that. So on Cody's part, kudos, because I never would have seen that coming. So
I yelled at my TV.
I didn't see it coming. My co-host Eric, he said to me, he's taking Enzo. And I'm like, no. And it wasn't until they got back from commercial and I saw Nicole crying in the living room that I was like, oh, I think he's about to do it. Like, I can't believe this. And I was shocked, I'll admit it. I was like,
okay. That was the one thing that was shocking about this season at all. I mean, I really thought, and we had a show last night, but I really thought that there was no chance that Enzo was going to the final two after last week. Like there was just no chance. After he lost the first part of the HOH, I was like, there's no way. But were you guys surprised, and I'll open this up to everybody, but were you surprised that she took it that hard? Because now we've kind of like this, in the last day now, they've done some interviews, they've done some press, Cody, Nicole, and everything. It's kind of funny because it feels like almost as if Cody blindsiding Nicole almost overtakes his win. I mean, that's what everyone's talking about, that he blindsided her, which is just interesting. Not because you should never discredit his win. But what I'm asking, I guess what I'm saying is like, do you think, she's still, is everything still too new at this point for both of them? The win, the blind side, everything. Is it too new to kind of process or what?
I think Cody would have been in trouble either way. I think if Cody brought Nicole, it would be, how stupid could you be? He brought a previous winner. And if he lost to her, it would be, oh, it's like Derek all over again. So either way, he was going to get, drama for what he did. When it comes to Nicole, I think it makes sense to her nature. We see her a lot. She's somebody who, when things happen, she does get very emotional. She does, unfortunately, get very butthurt. She does take everything as like a personal attack. Even if she's the one saying something negative, she tends to work herself up. So I think her reaction was a very Nicole F reaction. I think everybody copes differently, and that's how she copes. And I really don't want to fault her for it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, come on, how could you act that way? But like, that's how she dealt with it. And I think we're all human, so I want to give her a little bit of credit, like for trying to like kind of hold herself together.
Oh, for sure. Rachel, what, after this last day, what do you think? Do you have any further thoughts on Cody's win? Like, do you have any further thoughts?
I mean, I saw Derek Levasseur tweet out, he's basically one of the best winners of all time. One of the only two with a complete 9-0 win. And I can't remember what else he said. Oh, like he had won 9 competitions, 9-0 win. And it just put in perspective a little more to me how great of a winner we really got for this season. As as crappy, as no offense, Nicole, I love you, but like as as you've seen how it's always
as crappy as the rest of the cast was.
Yes, as as
wow,
as one-sided as it's been, it was nice to see that we really did get a great winner out of BB22 All Stars. Nicole, you're amazing. I'm just talking about how the one-sidedness of the season was what I was referring to. So it was just nice to see a winner or a good winner.
And personally, Nicole, you were my favorite Nicole on this season, and Bryce can attest to that because he is the president of the Franzel fan.
Oh, come on, you guys! No. Like, relax. But no, the reason why I asked that is because, as as I've said, I've been watching these interviews in the last day of like Cody and Enzo and Nicole and Davon and some other people that have gone with these interviews, and I am more and more impressed with Cody's game. And what a well-rounded player he was. And I really hope that, these kids that are going in to play Big Brother next season, or these people, I guess I should say kids, but like, they're coming into the house.
These youngins.
Yeah, these youngins, they'll say like, I want to play, they say, I want to play Cody's game, because everybody comes in like, yes, because he at least he's a more well-rounded player. All I'm saying is because everybody comes in these last few years have been like, I want to play Derek's game. I want to play. Well, no one can play Derek's game because they're not Derek. And not to say that anyone's Cody, but I just think that Cody had both social and comp wins, and Derek didn't have as many comp wins.
But I almost feel in like upcoming seasons, the comp beast is going to become the big target. You look at last season, Mickey was somebody who won everything. You look at this season, Cody won everything. I think next season, you're going to see a group where it's like, oh gosh, who's the comp beast? Get rid of him. Where is he?
Yeah.
I
hope that happens. I hope that happens because I don't
Me too. Come on. We need the people like me to win.
We need to change it up next season. We don't need another Cody. We don't need another one-sided thing. But I do agree with you. I mean, God, his game is amazing. You can win with that strategy. But hopefully next year, like you said, Nicole, that would be freaking awesome.
Well, Nicole, is there anything
voting with the house? That's
for sure.
Yeah.
Nicole, is there anything else that you want? We talked about this last night too, but I wanted to extend it to you. What is there anything else that you would think that you would change, in the upcoming season, or you hope to see changes other than what you just said?
I think And I think this season was kind of a good example with the way some of the comps were, because I think they had to simplify due to COVID. I want to see more well-rounded comps. I feel like as somebody, I'm very biased as somebody who's not like a physical competitor. I wish there were, I don't know, like the safety suite, do more comps with music in them. Like the Whacktivities last season, do more about fears and snakes and stuff like that. Things that your average person can at least attempt. And that's what I'd like to see more of, more like sensory comps, more the different types of learners, whether it's visual or auditory. Like that's what I want to see to maybe prevent the compies. Because I get it. Jocks are amazing and they're good and they're quick on their feet and they're strong, but they are not Nicole, and we need comps that Nicole can win.
Yes.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I can't remember what season it was, but Nicole, you probably maybe remember. But do you know? I think there was a season where they like had to shave somebody's head. Like it was something where you had to take.
Pacer shaved his head.
Oh yeah, so it was Pacer.
Was it the first All-Star or the?
Might have been.
The one right before.
Yeah.
Might have been, but I want to see more stuff like that where you have to go out on a limb and do something absolutely crazy and ridiculous, like shaving your head. Had that happened to me and somebody said shave my head, I would have said no. I will be stepping to the side on that one.
It's very true. Like your season, they had like the one part of the comp was a water tank, like something like that is very, very different, and that's the kind of stuff I want to see. That's just not your traditional like be strong and hang on this. Like I want to see more of like, oh, are you afraid of bugs? Like kind of like Fear Factor, like lay in the sting of bugs. Like I think, what was it, season 10? They had to lay in dirt while water was being dripped on them. The pressure cooker, anybody can do the pressure cooker. It's a matter of like willpower. Hold down that button. You don't have to be 6 foot something or tiny to do it. Like that's what I want to see more of, like the everyday people type of comps.
Yeah, that competition that you're talking about that was on my season, that was the craziest. That was our first veto competition.
That's cool.
I don't remember, but it was the snake. They had to put their hands in the snake thing, and then they had the water, and then they had like the pellet BB guns or something, and then it was insane to watch.
How is that? Cool. How is it even like? There has to be so many like things that hoops they had to jump through to get to that.
I just remember Sam on my season. Her being when they were doing the pellet guns or whatever it was, and she was like, "Oh, GD!" and blah, 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 blah. She was screaming at the people doing it, and she was saying, "You GD mother effer! I'll kick you in your freaking butt!" And I was over here just like, and then all of us are on the side like, "All right, she's a loose cannon.
Wow,
her damn marbles," and that's when we thought. That's when sorry, now I'm randomly on a rant about this. But that was when level 6 was trying to save. That was when level 6 was trying to save her. And then we all looked at each other and went, we ain't gonna be able to save Sam after this catastrophe.
Wow.
Then she became a robot.
Yeah, that was when she was a robot, I believe.
Oh, she was. Wait, so did they like go into her secret robot room and shoot her? Like, so you just see the robot screen reacting to her being shot in real life? Because I would pay to see that.
No, she was able to get out of robot to compete in the competition.
Robot mode, yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I just went off on a tangent of things that I would like to see in Big Brother. So
I mean, that was so unfair. I mean, that's something that I hope that does not come back, because that was very unfair.
That was so bad.
You know, I mean, it was like there are certain things that are just not. I mean, you know, I love. Like you said, Nicole, I think the comps are cool. And, you know, even we saw in like Bailey had to ride the bike around, which I didn't even know that was a competition until that one recap episode. And the punishment. And I thought that was really, I mean, those competitions suck, but you really do empathize with the people that have to do them. And you really like it brings, and it also feels like it brings the house together. Like I remember in 16 when Brittany got it.
Had to kick all the goals.
She had to kick all the goals, but everyone rallied around her. And it was such a cool thing that I felt like it really did help that cast kind of bond a little bit.
Yeah.
At least that's what it felt like at the time. So I hope more of that kind of happens, because I think, you know, like you touched on this, you know, and we've this has been like a theme for us all season, but we really, you know, I mean, these people are human, especially these all like you guys as all-stars coming back to the house. And, you know, I mean, even like Rachel going into a season, even with everybody who's never played before, it's like, you guys are really you're really putting yourself in a position, in a spotlight to be criticized and and I think everybody needs to come back out of this realizing that. Like, I think it's kind of gross. I mean, although I am the president of the Nicole Franzel fan club, I think it is kind of gross the way that people are like so happy about her demise and her losing her sponsorships. And like, it's so gross. Like, people need to just stop that. And I would say that about anybody. I would not, it's not just because it's Nicole Franzel. It's for anybody. It's like, no one should be like rooting for someone to fail or to have something bad. I'm sure that you, Nicole, you and Rachel have both probably felt that online and stuff.
Absolutely.
Nicole,
I mean, I'm already like an empathetic person, so things like that bother me. But I think coming off of this season, even someone like me, like, I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I consider myself a very like nice everyday person. I was getting death threats. I was getting people cursing at me nonstop. So when I received that, that's when I got even more down the path of like, oh, why are we attacking people? Like, there's no need for it. So regardless how you feel about somebody as a game player, to attack them as a human, I'm just not for it.
No, I completely get it.
Everyone's a big guy behind a keyboard, and like just the anonymous nature, semi-anonymous nature of Twitter, it just kind of creates like a hive mind of like toxicity that really can focus itself in really negative ways, and it's really unfortunate.
Well, it's
Nicole,
funny.
Nicole, I thought that was interesting about, I don't remember when we talked about this, but like, you had a difficult time after being America's favorite player last season. I mean, it seemed like to me, this person should be riding high and not having really any kind of side effects from the season because of how seemingly great third place, America's favorite player, $25,000. So to me, I would think, oh, this is great, but it still affected you even in the great position that you were in.
Exactly. Even last season, being on the high end of it, like, this is so great. I had a lot of anxiety because then I had so many people that I felt like I owed, because I had so many people that were like, you inspired me. Can you help me with this? Can you help? So I felt like I like owed something back. And that was something that really got to me entering the house this time. Like, I felt that burden of like, oh my gosh, I need to do this for the fans. I need to do this for the people I inspire. I need to do this for the fellow Nicoles at home. Like, and that really bore down on me. And now getting out of the house this season, it's like the opposite end of it, where now, yes, I have all these people that love me, but now I also very much have people that despise me. So it's, it makes you grow. It forces you to, realize who you are and focus on those strengths.
Well, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but Nicole, you didn't even have social media before Big Brother, right? I mean, this is sort of new territory. How was that kind of exploring that world? Because was it difficult for you to, I mean, again, not to like find people that are assholes, but like, were you able to find people, quickly, like what they were saying or kind of that stuff? Or was that shielded from you a little bit because you weren't being tagged in every single little thing?
I mean, so I had no social media prior to BB21. And then when I came out, I was like, I don't know. And people were like, oh, no, get it. Your fans want to talk to you. Your castmates want to talk to you. The BB community wants to talk to you. And I was like, okay, great. So I got social media. And like I said, I was met with like, girl, you're the best. Oh my God, you're the greatest. AFP. And yes, I got things here and there, like, you're overrated. You're dumb. Why'd you not evict Mickey? Why'd you keep Holly over Tommy? Stuff like that. But it wasn't ever that bad. This is my first time post BB All-Stars being on the Twitter streets, as they say, with hatred and anger and death threats and I'm a hoe, I'm a slut, I'm a bitch, I'm just everything. And as strong as I thought I was, that can get to you when you open your Twitter timeline and, it's only like a handful of people, but they are very loud. So it's been it's been a growing process. It's definitely taught me a lot about myself and what I'm capable of like enduring. Like, it taught me a lot, like, oh, no, some people don't like me. That's okay. Like, I'm still alive. Everything's still good. Like, I'm fine.
Well, no, and that's true, but it is funny because that you say that, because I think that a lot of people probably feel that way, especially and it was probably heightened because we are in a pandemic and everybody's at home and we're disconnected from people and you're just staring at your phone all the time. And like, I mean, that has to really get to you. So I commend you for being, having an outlet, like doing your podcast and being so positive all the time, because I think that can be really difficult for a lot of people.
My main thing for like myself, anybody, is like, just stay in your lane. Like, there's room for everybody. You don't need to poo-poo on other people to make yourself go further. I don't spread negativity. I don't attack anybody. Like I have so much fun on the Hello Friends podcast. So I just focus on it. And that's my lane. Like, if you don't like me, don't come into my lane. Like, if you do like me, come join me in my lane. All are welcome. But if you don't, just drive away. Like, you don't need to bother with me.
I love
100%.
that. I love that. Well,
Yes.
well, we got to ask you about the woman of the hour last night, Devon, who succeeded you as America's favorite house guest.
Yes.
What was your reaction to her win?
I am so excited. As everybody knows, I rooted for Devon. I'm Team Devon. When it came to AFP, I gave my argument that, she's the only one to use a veto on somebody else in an All-Star season. She gave epic speeches. And I said she's somebody who, especially in All-Star season, I feel like needs to represent the Big Brother community. And it shocked me that Devon, both times she's played, has not won AFP. Like, I really thought she's somebody that would hold the title twice over already. So I was happy to see her get it. And, like, I know you never lose the title of AFP, but it's kind of like Miss America. Like, I feel like I've, passed it on. So I feel very honored that the person I'm passing it on to is Devon. Like, that's something that to me is, wow, I watched her for seasons, a huge fan of her. Now I'm in the community, and we both have the same title. I don't know. It's very wow, I love her.
It is amazing that she has never won.
I know, right? She's somebody who's such a personality and a force in the DR, and regardless going out early in her seasons, she's known. Like, everybody knows Devon. So I'm glad she finally has a title that shows that she is what I've always seen her to be, and a lot of people have always seen her to be.
Yeah, and she had so many great conversations, really important, pivotal conversations that we needed to have this year. And I think that's another big reason why it's so great that she won America's Favorite Player and represents this season, because she shined a light on a lot of stuff that we need to be recognizing. And then I think I also saw an interview, she's planning on donating certain proceeds to the Black Lives Matter movement. So, which I already assumed that she would be doing, but that's just another reason why it's so amazing that she did win, because she is going to be giving back with this money as well.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that is incredible. And she's been the one she's been like a fountain of information too, because I feel like I've watched, she was on Rob as a podcast. I think that they interviewed her, which was a fantastic interview. All their interviews were great. Actually, I watched all of them. So if you guys haven't checked them out, you should. But she was saying how the jury, again, not to harp on this again, but I mean, she was saying that basically if Nicole Franzel had gone to final two, she would have, a lot of jury members were planning on voting for her. Does that surprise you, Nicole? Like she said that she mentioned Kevin, Memphis, Christmas, and then Enzo also revealed that if Cody had cut him, he was going to vote for Nicole. I mean, anyway, she would have gotten 5 votes, and they asked her if Devon, they go to, would you have voted for her? She's like, absolutely not.
I can see that happening because, again, All-Star season, there was only 2 people who had already won. One of them's in the final 2 chairs. I could see a lot of those jury members being like, she's a previous winner who made it. And that's why I give Cody so much credit for what he did, because again, people might be giving him crap for you claim to be so loyal, but you got rid of Nicole. Yeah, but had he kept her and lost to her, he would be getting pooped on even worse. It would be so bad.
Yes.
So I give him a lot of credit for doing it, because case in point, he was right. A lot of them were going to vote for Nicole.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so you came into the house. We sort of touched on this. You came into the house to play again just a year later, which is actually what Janelle and Kaysar did during their first go around. Mm-hmm. Were you nervous at all to play so close after you played the first time? Or was it even a thought in your mind? Were you just like, yes, immediately?
So I'll be completely honest. When I got the phone call, I expected my reaction to be screaming, laughing. Oh my God, house meeting with my family, like I did last time. And this time I was like, okay. And I hung up and I cried and I called my family into the kitchen and I'm like, I don't know. Cause last season was a very, a lot of highs, but also a lot of lows. So, my family was like, I don't know, Nick, you've already been through this. Do you want to do it again? I'm like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. How can I not do it again? I'll be okay. And I think it was more so now that I look back, I think I convinced myself that I was okay. I think I convinced myself, I'm fine. I got this. I'm still in game mode. I never left game mode. This is going to help me in the house. But now hindsight being 2020 and seeing how not afraid, but like emotional I was. I think I did deep down know, like, I am not ready to go back. I'm not okay to go back. I need to process what I went through in BB21. So yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily smart for me to go back-to-back seasons, especially when my first one was a doozy.
I mean, there was just a lot of emotion in your season. I mean, Rachel and I covered it in an after show last year too, and it was just like, I mean, it was week after week. It was just, it was a roller coaster, especially for you at the end. I mean, that week, we all really felt for you, because that was just all very tough, and we just, I mean. So I commend you for going back, but I also want to know what was your reaction when you saw your BB21 housemate David in the house this year?
I was so excited. I'm such a firm believer in like family, and to me, regardless of who or what they are, my BB21 cast is my family. Yes, some of them make questionable decisions, but sometimes you have family members who make questionable decisions. So they are my family. So I'd be happy to see any of them, because that's just my loyalty. So in walking in, I was like, oh my God, is it going to be Cliff? Is it going to be Tommy? Is it going to be Christy? Is it going to be Obi? Is it going to be David? Like, I was just ready for any of them. And I know people have their thoughts like, oh, David didn't last long enough last season. But regardless, I was just happy to see somebody who had a shared experience as me to last season. And that's something, if you watch the live feeds, me and David had a lot of discussions about, was realizing how difficult it was to come back right away. But I was just happy to have like, oh, hey fam, like, we're here.
Yeah, true. Rachel,
conspicuously absent from the from last season to this season. What was it like having not nearly as many watermelons in the house? Was that difficult?
I realized I kind of went back for like a therapy session, because when I went back, I went in the storage room and I'm like, where are the big watermelons? I need one and I need to smash it. And then I went in the DR and I'm like, where's the stool? I need to baptize it in the pool. So there were a lot of things that like I wanted closure on. So I think that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to go back. I just wanted closure from last season. And but no, there actually weren't a lot of watermelons. There were miniature watermelons that were a different color. And fun fact, the only one that really ate them was Memphis. So yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
That makes sense.
That makes
Memphis, all right.
Well, okay, so Nicole, but what about everybody else? Like when you walked into the Big Brother house, the cast is all there, everyone's there. Who made you, like, what were some emotions that were, or who kind of evoked some emotions for you? Like, who were you nervous to see in the house? Who were you like, okay, I got to watch out for that person? Let's start there.
I think, I'm a very, I read people and like auras and vibes and feelings. So I think in first initially meeting everybody, I kind of was like, ooh, about Nicole F and Danny, which I think is funny, because in getting out of the house and hearing about those first couple of days, I found out them two were kind of like eerie toward me. So I think we were both picking up on those vibes. But I walked in with Janelle, Keisha, and Bailey, and me, like I said, being a loyal person, I'm like, okay, I walked in with them. Those are my girls. Like, I was really excited to see them. And what's interesting, too, is I always say premiere, I was on a high. I was so excited. I'm like, here I am in my house. They declared the have-nots, and I'm like, come on, fellas, let's go see the have-not room, because this is my house. I just moved out. Like, I was like, I don't know what I thought I was doing. Like, BB reunion, come on, everybody. And then I woke up the second day and was like, oh shit, I have to play with these people.
Oh my God.
So I was very unhappy.
Yeah, and I remember you saying, I don't know, I think maybe it was on Armchair All-Stars, I'm not sure, but when you said it was like you probably woke up the next day and you went, oh crap, I know the long road ahead. I know what's ahead. I don't think I was necessarily ready for all of this. This is crazy. So I'm sure that's kind of how you felt.
And I don't like to admit it, because I don't want to in any way seem like I'm like disrespecting the show or the producers. I love the show. I love the game. I respect the game, but I need to be completely transparent in that. Like I said, at day one, I think it was kind of like, oh, BB reunion. I get to meet people from the community that I'm now a part of. This is awesome. This is so much fun. And I think day two, just waking up, and I didn't wake up with the music, which I always did last season. So I was like, oh, that's weird. And I didn't want to change my batteries. And I'm like, Nicole, you are not in a good mental state. Why are you? Like, I felt it. I felt that I was like, oh no, I cannot do this for another 90 or whatever days, because I know how long last season was. And I knew what I was up against with all these all-stars who I could see they were ready. They were ready to be ruthless. And nobody was really talking because everybody had their cards close to the chest. So I think I very early on realized, like, yeah, this is not going to be my season.
Yeah, I hear you on that, because I would imagine your first time around is so new and so exciting. And so that's why you see so many of these, new people, just stars in their eyes, just so excited to play the game. And the second time around, I mean, I can't even imagine playing a second time around. I'm sure I would be so excited, but who knows once you get in there how you're really truly going to feel. All those emotions flood back. So.
And I think the person that very closely paralleled me, and I always tell my family this, is Tyler. And I think because similar to me, he was there all the way to the end, but a year later. So whereas I kind of had my breakdown week 2, we saw him have a breakdown like a couple of weeks later. So I think because him and I were so recent and lasted so long, whereas like David didn't last that long last season, Bailey didn't last too long the season prior. I don't know. I just think me and Tyler, I saw a similar crack in Tyler that I also experienced, like seeing him break down in jury about seeing Angela. That's how I broke down when I first saw my family. And it's a different type of breakdown. It's not a I missed you breakdown. It's like that was really difficult. I couldn't do it. And that's what I saw in Tyler's eyes. So like it broke my heart.
Gosh, that is so, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's just so funny how, being in that house, you just pick up on so many different things. Like I never even thought about that, but it's so true that, I mean, maybe I'm sure it's just because I haven't played the game, but on the flip side of like who you're a little nervous about, who were the people that you knew you wanted to work with aside? I mean, I know you said the people that you walked in with, but was there anybody else that you didn't walk in with that you were like, okay, I can see myself working with that person?
Definitely Kevin, Ian, definitely. And I'm probably missing people, but, and Enzo, those were 3 people that like, just from like the initial hug and the initial exchanges, Ian is somebody I feel like I relate to very much, like on a social level. Kevin was like, Nicole, you're my unicorn. I loved you last season. Rainbow and glitter always. I'm like, okay, that's it. We're best friends. and Enzo is somebody who I like adore his sense of humor. So they were 3 people that I'm like, all right, I'm very big on social game and just being real. So I'm like, okay, those are 3 people I can be real with.
Yeah. And so Rachel has mentioned to me, that she got really close to the people that were like after pre-jury because they were, and I don't want to step on Rachel. Rachel can explain this too, but like she got really close to people pre-jury. So I was just wondering if you had stayed close with the people that were in your pre-jury too, or like how you guys all got together to talk about the final 3 last week. Mm-hmm. How was that? How was that fun? Was it a fun reunion, or is it weird to being on screens all over? Like it's just.
It's definitely like kind of impersonal, obviously, because you're seeing each other through a screen when you just want to like hug and like, oh my God, how are you? I mean, it was good. Like when I connected, Keisha and Janelle were there, and I was obviously nervous because I hadn't really seen any of them. But we were talking about like the season. We were talking about the upcoming Zoom meetings. We were like laughing about the weather and stuff. So it was very cordial. I will admit, and like I don't want to speak for any of them but I'll speak on behalf of myself. Like I feel as though I am getting off the season last season. I felt very closely knit to my house guests, especially those that were jury onward, especially those who were in the final 5, final 4, final 3 with me. Like I just felt a connection to them. This season, I don't know if it's because we're all stars that were already in the community with pre-existing relationships, or because I left so early. Like I don't feel that similar sense of like glued at the hip. And I think that's, again, like what Rachel was saying earlier, I think because when you walk in your first season, you're like doe-eyed, and, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And these people are my family because we're all going through our first experience together. And I think once you like break that seal, then it's like, oh, we're already part of the community. We know how this works, and you already have like your dynamics.
And I think that it's either you run towards your house guest or you run away, because it's one of the two. It's either PTSD or it's like, I don't want to deal with those emotions and those feelings anymore, or it's like I need them because they are my family and they're the only people that understand me and all of that. And I think it is because all of these all-stars have been through these emotions already before. And it's like everybody has, also a lot of these people have family, have children, you know, so they have lives to go back to and careers, unlike a lot of the people that they cast on these seasons who are trying to be social media moguls.
And I think I said this on a previous interview. I feel like this season was more people were treating it like a job, whereas last season, let's get to know each other, let's play games, let's have fun. This season was a lot more like, nope, I'm doing a job, we're not having a little fun time, we are having job time. And I think I sensed that. And I will say again, because I left second, and in the manner I left in, you know, having the week where I didn't really trust my allies and coming out and being hated by social media, like I think I gravitated more toward Keisha than the people evicted after me, if that makes sense too. Because I think if people evicted after me, I was like, oh, I don't know how you feel about me because things are weird right now. So I love them all. I'm not saying I don't, but I just gravitate toward Keisha more because we have that shared experience of like being the first two out, and everybody knows the first two out are kind of like, like okay.
Do you think that you have like, do you think you will patch up things, or that if you have, you know, talk to like Janelle or those people that, you know, maybe that like aside from the Zoom call?
I do talk to Kaser every now and again. And I think a lot of it is too, like everybody's just very busy people. Like Rachel was saying, it's not young newbies who sounds mean, but like, oh, we don't have jobs. Let's all figure out Instagram together. You know what I mean? I think we're all like, a lot of them are already pre-established in their lives with families and big jobs. And I think it's more so like, all right, that job of Big Brother's over and now we live our life. So it's kind of like the graduation process was like sped up. Whereas last season we were all like, let's go to Cancun together, you know? So, you know, so with that being said, like I have spoken to Janelle on the Zoom call. I have spoken to Bailey a couple of times. I speak to Kaser a lot. I always talk to Keisha, and I have no issue, no ill will. I think we're all just living our best lives, you know, post Big Brother, whatever it may be. But I wish them all the best, and my phone is always available if they need me.
Well, I was gonna, you know, we saw you guys, and you did seem like everyone was, not necessarily you, Nicole, but like everyone was pretty stressed out, like on the season. And we just want to know, like, a lot of the casual, there was a lot of gameplay, to be fair, there was a ton of gameplay. So a lot of the casual viewers didn't get to see, but what did you do for fun? And like, what was your fondest memory of this season?
You tell me. No, I'm being, no. Like, I don't mean to, it comes out so negative, but like I said, last season, and a lot of it is credited to Tommy, we had fashion shows, we had like game nights, we would go around in a circle and learn about each other. And even though me being my awkward self didn't participate, I liked watching everybody else do it, and I enjoyed like that camaraderie. We had family dinners, we had Taco Tuesdays, which sometimes led to fights, but still. But, you know, this season, I know the one day Big Brother gave us like question cards to go around and ask each other for like a Facebook Live. That was a lot of fun because it was nice to hear everybody's answers, and we were all in the same room for once, like talking. So that's a very fond memory. I loved when Kevin was Anita Vito in the Have Not room with myself and Davon. That was a great moment for me. And then I loved when I was no longer a Have Not and I got to eat like my cookies and my pizza, and I was dancing in the kitchen with David. Those are the moments that, like, those to me are Big Brother. I, as somebody who didn't go to school and didn't really have a lot of friends, you know, I love the camaraderie and the fun. Like, that's why I go to Big Brother. I seek the social aspect of it, which is not necessarily the game aspect. So I like those moments more of like, let's have fun.
I love that. So your life has changed so much since Rachel and I interviewed you in the backyard of BB21. So what is your favorite thing that you've done in the last year?
Oh gosh. Like me personally,
what's the craziest thing that's happened to you in this year of like, you know, getting recognized or like whatever it may be?
And you went on watch What Happens Live, right?
I did. That was the first thing I did.
So cool. That was so cool. Anyway, that was like
4 days after finale, and I was still in this whirlwind of like, what? A car service is coming to bring me to Andy Cohen? Okay. Like, here we go.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, I think those are like the most fascinating moments of like, hey, do you want to come to like play Nashville and hang out with all the queens? And I'm like, absolutely, I'll be there in a heartbeat. Like things like that are things that I never would have experienced. Like I'd never been on a plane prior to flying out for Big Brother finals. So things like that are what I appreciate the most when, like, you know, I went to an event in Canada and got a passport for the first time to do that. Like that to me is amazing because Nicole 2 years ago definitely was not doing those things. So it's just fair. And I think for me, the person, for, you know, I went to school for English and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my career, didn't know what I wanted to do with schooling. That's why I applied to Big Brother to kind of break me out of my rut. And I think for me as a person, doing the Hello Friends podcast, I finally feel like I found my niche where, like, this is what I love to do. I love to hear myself talk. I love to explain things, you know? So I think that for me is my biggest change because I finally feel like I'm like, oh, I'm in a career where it makes sense now. And I'm not like, oh, I'm not in the right spot.
Yeah. It's great.
Well, and
Or you're the
Rachel,
podmaster.
yeah,
I'm the
that's
podmaster.
But Rachel's been on your show, and I mean, I listened to your episode with Rachel, and you got, I mean, both, you know, you're so, and the one that after you came back from this season too, I listened to that one or part of it, and you're so great about like making people feel so welcoming, and it's so nice to like have a place for people to like go and just have an enjoyable time. It seems like, so I think that it's really you have a really good knack for that.
Oh, thanks so much. I am what I am. Listen, I was and will always be and still am just Nicole from Long Island. I got a call from a TV show and I went and like here I am 2 years later. Like I don't know. It's surreal for me sometimes, like the whole like BB Comics episode. I was screaming excited about the Podmaster comic, and then after about 20 minutes, I started crying. And Eric was like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I'm just Nicole from Long Island. Like I'm not an influencer. I'm not, you know, this big important person. I'm not like this big wealthy person. I'm just Nicole from Long Island. And here I am, a comic book on my favorite TV show next to amazing individuals." So like, I don't know. Yeah. I just like to include everybody and make everybody feel how Nicole would feel if she was being interviewed by Nicole now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you come from, you know, this is going to sound stupid, but humble beginnings, you know, it's like, you come from a place where you never thought in a million years your life could reach or be this big. I felt that myself, even though like I was living in Vegas and then you know, doing all these fun, amazing woohoo things, but I never let myself think that I could ever get to that level where I was like on national television. So I 100% understand how that all feels.
Right? It's a weird feeling.
It's a very strange feeling, but there was a reason why that happened. Yes. So, and that reason was to be the Podmaster and to be the fabulous, Nicole Anthony.
And apparently a knock joke master. What's going on with that?
Wait, hold on. The person who just wrote that comment, here it is, Cameron. He DM'd me and said knock. And typically Nicole does not answer DMs, but curiosity killed the cat. And what was it?
Good strategy, by the way, Cameron.
It was
very
like,
good to get an answer.
And it was I'm a shoe. So I was like, this person's writing I'm a shoe. So I'm like, oh, I know what they're gonna write back. They're gonna write and I'm gonna say, I'm a shoe what? And they're gonna write back, I'm a shoe on Big Brother. So I miss you on Big Brother. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really cute. So I wrote back, I'm a shoe, and the person and Cameron wrote back like, oh, that's a shame that you're a shoe. And I was like, no. I'm like, you just lost your own punchline. It would have been funnier if you said, I miss you on Big Brother. So we kind of went back and forth about the knock joke, which I thought was hysterical. But I never answered DMs. But something about his knock, I was like, well, what is he gonna wrght?
We'll be prepared to get a bunch of knock DMs now.
I know. If you write knock, I'm going to answer because I want to know what's knock.
I know. Now that you want an answer from Nicole, you know what to do.
All right.
All right. Well, Nicole,
never mind.
So we like to end our show with final thoughts. So we just want to know what are your last words in a sentence about Big Brother All Stars? What are your final thoughts on the season?
Okay. My final thoughts on the season, although I feel that it was predictable because a big alliance was in power, I can commend them for being in power and staying in power and loyal and winning comps. With that being said, to everybody, myself included, in the Big Brother community, fandom, whoever it may be, I ask that you give people a second chance. A character on a show, even if you're watching them on live feeds, is not a person in real life. So give people time to explain certain behaviors, give people time to take accountability, and give people the space to grow and move forward and give them a chance. And that's what I ask, just treat people like humans and don't come at them so hard.
Amazing final thought. Rachel,
well
final thoughts? Final thoughts, Rachel?
I mean, I gave final thoughts last night. I guess my final thoughts.
You have to give one every time.
Okay,
we need your final thoughts.
Oh,
Yeah, your
Jesus.
final
Okay.
thoughts. No.
My final thoughts are we had a season, like I said last night. We had a season. And my final thoughts moving forward are let's cast people that know nothing about this show next season.
I love that idea.
I
Mark?
just really want that to happen.
Knock knock. No, I got
Who's there?
final thoughts, and that's all I have. Now I'm really glad that we did a bonus episode. It's a really great time talking with you. Great insight, and we got some great stories out of it. And
it's kind of
can't wait
nice
till we're back next season.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of nice to have like a dust, like when the dust settles, because I feel like we went live right after, as you probably did too, Nicole. Like we went live right after, and it's kind of like, okay, we just like it's sort of shocking, and now we've got a little bit more. But my final thought, and it is a little bit of an announcement. Rachel and I are actually going to be doing the finalist interviews. We got an email today. I just got an email, and we're going to be doing that on Monday. So guys, keep an eye out on that for that as well. So we will let you know. We'll make sure that happens. But that is our show. So once again, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also please subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I want to add, since Rachel gave a suggestion for future seasons, I would like to ask that it be me with 15 newbies, but the newbies be all male of the age I select, single, who are attracted to this.
Yes.
Okay.
So you want Big Brother Bachelorette?
Yeah.
Yes. Continue.
BBB. Let's go.
Will you accept this veto?
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
You guys, let's manifest this. Let's make this happen, okay? But be sure to follow the show. Be sure to follow our show on Instagram and from Outside the House. And on Twitter at Outside BB House for all off-season content and updates on our coverage of BB23. Once again, thank you so much, Nicole, for being here. You are a gem.
You guys.
You truly are a unicorn. You can follow her at Strong Island NI2 on Twitter and at Strong Island Nicole on Instagram. And please listen, subscribe, and follow to the Hello Friends podcast on all streaming platforms. Nicole, when is it every day? Is it a daily podcast? Tell everybody.
Yes, it is typically a 5-day-a-week podcast. So weekdays, because of getting off Big Brother and with Big Brother season airing, we had a couple fewer during the season. But now that it's ended, we are going back full force to 5 days a week. So I'm super excited.
Yay.
Amazing. Well, with that, that's a wrap on season 1 of Outside the House. Please check in for updates on our coverage of BB23. Again, follow us. But thank you all so much for joining us, especially Nicole. From Outside the Big Brother House, this has been Outside the House. We will see you next summer. Good night.
And Monday for interviews. Don't forget Bryce.
On Monday, yes.
Right.
I'll be on an airplane though, so you win. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.